Welcome back to DeFi Exploits Explained. Today, the Zeckeland hack, $9.5 million gone in February 2025 from a bug so small it survived two separate audits, a single rounding decision in the withdraw function. In three clear acts, first the honest flow, a normal deposit and withdrawal, then the attack, where an inflated exchange rate plus rounding down lets an attacker withdraw money for free, and then the one-line fix. And every act, we prove it on a diagram in a test where you watch every balance and live on a public blockchain you can verify on Etherscan. Let's go. First, the setup. When you deposit into a lending market, you get back receipt tokens, here called zTokens, that represent your share. The link between the real asset and those receipts is a number called the accumulator, essentially an exchange rate that grows as interest accrues. When you deposit, the market mints zTokens equal to your amount divided by the accumulator. When you withdraw, it burns zTokens equal to your amount divided by the accumulator. Simple and symmetrical. But there's a catch, and it's the entire hack. Computers do integer division, which rounds down. Rounding down when you mint is fine, it just favors the pool. But rounding down when you burn on withdrawal means the user can be charged to few zTokens. Let's see honest first, then watch that rounding turn into free money. We build it in Foundry. Here's the skeleton of the market, a fixed point accumulator that starts at 1.0, a mapping of each address's zToken balance, and a deposit function that mints zTokens by dividing your amount by the accumulator, rounded down. The one that matters is withdraw, so let's fill it in. Here's withdrawal, and here's the whole bug on one line. To take out some amount, it computes the zTokens to burn as amount times the scale divided by the accumulator, and because that's integer division, it rounds down. Then it subtracts those tokens and sends you the asset. Now think about what happens if the accumulator is large. If one's token is worth 20 of the asset and you withdraw 19, then 19 divided by 20 rounds down to 0's tokens burned. You get 19 of the asset and it costs you nothing. First, let's use the market honestly, where the accumulator is still 1 and it behaves perfectly. Act 1, the honest flow on the diagram. A lender deposits 100 of the asset, the accumulator is 1.0. So the market mints 100 divided by 1, exactly 100 zTokens, their receipt. Later they withdraw 100, which burns 100 zTokens, and they get their 100 back. At a 1-to-1 exchange rate, the rounding never bites. What you put in is precisely what you take out. The danger only appears when that rate is pushed far away from 1, which is exactly what the attacker does in Act 2. First, let's prove the honest case. Here is the honest test. The lender deposits 100 while the accumulator measure is 1 and then withdraws 100. Both sides use the same rate, so it should round trip exactly. Watch the numbers. Run it. The lender deposits 100 and gets back exactly 100, one deposit, one withdrawal, a clean round trip, because the exchange rate is 1 and the rounding has nothing to round. That's the honest flow. Now watch what happens when the rate is inflated. Act 2, the attack on the diagram. In the real hack, the attacker first inflated the accumulator on a nearly empty market using flash loaned interest until one zToken was worth an enormous amount of the asset. Then comes the payoff. Withdraw an amount smaller than 1 zToken's worth, and the cost amount divided by the accumulator rounds down to 0 zTokens. So you take the asset and burn nothing. It's like a cashier whose chips are worth $20 each, but who rounds your bill down to a whole chip. Ask for $19 and it costs you 0 chips. Repeat that free withdrawal in a loop and the pool empties while the attacker's balance never drops. This exact bug drained Zeckeland of $9.5 million after passing 2 audits. Let's prove it. Here's the attack test. Honest liquidity of 100 sits in the pool. Then we inflate the accumulator exactly as the real attacker did, and the attacker calls withdraw 5 times each for just under 1 zToken's worth. We print the pool and the attacker's zToken balance at every step. Run it before. The pool holds 100, the attacker has nothing. We inflate the rate, then the attacker withdraws 5 times. Look at the attacker's token balance after each cycle. It stays at 0 every single time. Each withdrawal rounded the cost down to 0 zTokens burned. After, the pool is empty and the attacker walked away with the whole 100, having spent no zTokens at all. Free money, straight out of the rounding. Now let's watch it on a real blockchain. In a shot, and here it is live on Sepolia, a public testnet, every command reproducible. We deploy the asset and the market, the lender deposits 100 and we inflate the accumulator, 1 transaction each, all on chain. Then the key moment, the attacker sends 1 withdrawal for 19 of the asset. Follow it on Etherscan. In the tokens transferred section, the market sends 19 of the assets straight to the attacker. But read the state we read straight from the chain. The attacker's token balance before is 0 and after is still 0. 19 of the asset walked out and it burned no receipt tokens whatsoever. That single transaction, the money moving while the cost stays 0, is the entire Zeckeland hack on a chain you can open and verify yourself. Now let's fix it. Act 3. The fix on the diagram, and it is one line. The rule for any financial rounding is simple. Always round in the protocol's favor, never the user's. Minting on deposit already rounds down, which favors the pool. That's correct. The bug is that withdrawal also rounded down, favoring the user, so we change withdraw to round the burned zTokens UP using a ceiling division. Now withdrawing 19 against a rate of 20 costs the ceiling of 19 over 20, which is 1 zToken, not 0. And the attacker who holds 0 zTokens can't pay even that one, so the free withdrawal reverts. Same inflated rate, same attack, but the rounding now protects the pool. Let's build it and prove it. Here's the fixing code, and it's the single line we've been building to. Instead of amount times scale divided by the accumulator, which floors, we add the accumulator minus 1 before dividing, the standard ceiling trick, so the burned tokens always round up. That's it. Now a withdrawal can never cost 0 tokens, so a withdrawal that isn't backed by real receipts fails. The rule to carry forever: rounding must always favor the protocol. Mint rounds a deposit's credit down, withdraw rounds a withdrawal's cost up. Here is the fixed test. The same honest 100, the same inflated accumulator, the same attacker running the exact same free withdrawal. The only thing that changed is that one line, floor, became ceiling. We expect the free withdrawal to revert. The attacker runs the identical free withdrawal, but now the market rounds the cost up to 1 zToken, the attacker holds 0 and the transaction reverts. Nothing comes out. The pool still holds its full 100, completely intact. Same rate, same attack, and the exploit is dead because the rounding finally favors the protocol instead of the thief. One line. Quick recap: lending markets track your share with receipt tokens, scaled by an accumulator, an exchange rate. The bug was that withdraw computed the zTokens to burn with integer division that rounds down, so once the accumulator was inflated, a withdrawal smaller than 1 zTokens worth burned 0 zTokens, and the attacker took the asset for free, draining the pool. This is exactly how Zeckeland lost $9.5 million in 2025 past 2 audits. The fix is one line and one rule: round the user's costs UP, because rounding must always favor the protocol, never the person taking money out. A quick note: rebuilding these hacks safely and explaining them line by line takes real work. If it helps you, the wallets are on screen and there's a Ko-fi link below. Every tip funds the next breakdown. Thank you. And that's the Zeckeland hack, told in full: how receipt tokens and an accumulator work, how an inflated rate plus rounding down turns a withdrawal into free money, and the one-line fix that stops it. Each act on a diagram, in a test, and live on a public chain. Next episode, another DeFi exploit, rebuilt from scratch and then fixed. Subscribe so you don't miss it, tell me in the comments which exploit to break down next, and I'll see you there.